Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock, and I'd like to call together the January 22nd, 2026 school committee meeting. If you would please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this evening we have a consent agenda posted, which would be minutes from the January 8th, 2026 meeting, as well as oath to bills and payroll. We have a chance to review the minutes. Any questions? Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? So moved. Motion made by Sean,
Second.
seconded by Elaine. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. This is our first opportunity for interested citizens. If there's anybody with us in the room or remotely would like to speak before the school committee, this is your first chance. There'll be a second chance towards the back half of the meeting.
There's nobody online.
All right, we'll close interested citizens. Hope to hear from somebody in the back half. We'll move into recognition. Sid this evening is with us. Welcome, Sid. If you would please give the student representatives report.
Yep, to start, Shaker Lane is partnering with Tackle Hunger's Super Bowl of catering, collecting soup and non-perishable items through February 6th. Any community member who would like to donate to the community service project is welcome to drop items off at Shaker Lane School. Shaker Lane is also accepting community peer pre-K applications for the 2026-2027 school year until Friday, January 30th. Moving on to Russell Street, third graders have traveled into the cosmos through the traveling planetarium that was set up in the library. It was a great experience to cap their outer space wit and wisdom module. Moving on, fifth graders are excited to work on their battlefield projects tomorrow as a part of their current social studies unit on the Revolutionary War. And the January Stripe Assembly will be next week, where they will recognize students who have shown respect to themselves, their peers, and their environment. Moving on to the high school, on January 23rd, tomorrow, term 2 will end. And January 26th to the 30th is a Great Kindness Challenge Week. And last week, 39 Littleton High School DECA members competed in the district's competition, where students engaged in various business-related presentations and role plays. And this year they had a new record of over 16 students advancing to the state competition, which will be held in mid-March. Also, special shout out to Brianna and Gabe, who organized Littleton's 5K fun run to raise money for the Warrior Project. They had around 75 athletes, and the two raised over $3,600 for the organization. The Model UN trip to Washington, D.C. is going from February 5th to the 9th. The students will be participating in the American University Model UN conference site and sightseeing around DC. 15 students will be attending with Ms. McManus and Ms. Abate. On Wednesday, January 21st, the Facing History in Ourselves class had a Holocaust survivor, Janet Applefield, talk about surviving in war-torn Poland during World War II. And on Friday, January 23rd, the education support professional, Matthew Blum, will be speaking to the Facing History in Ourselves class about this time growing up in South Africa under their government. The class has been studying this period and reading Trevor Noah's book, Born a Crime. Lastly, the criminal justice class visited the MCI Shirley, a medium security prison, last week to participate in the Project Youth program. 21 students who attended described the experience as eye-opening, humbling, and impactful.
Thank you, Sid. All right. Typically we hand it over to Superintendent Clenchey for some other recognition. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to join us this evening and to a family matter, and being able is probably going to show up a little bit late. So we'll move into our first and only order of new business, which is a shed project update as posted on the agenda. So Town Clerk Diane Corey will update the school committee in regards to a new town-funded shed for storing election materials at the middle school.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. So as you all know, from my first time coming here, I explained a little bit about what we were looking to do, put a shed behind the school, and met with Steve and Eric Bentley, and we went over some of the logistics. The original shed was going to be 24 by 24, and after looking at what was going on in the back, we decided to make it a little bit smaller based on the pad that is back there. So we have decided to go with a smaller one, which is 14 by 24, which is the actual size of the pad. We didn't want to have to increase the pad in case there's anything beneath the pad. If we increase the size of the pad, so we wanted to make sure that we didn't hit any wires or anything like that, so we're gonna stay with the footprint of what is back there. So Steve agreed with that and said, you know, to bring that forward to you to explain the changes that we made there. After meeting with Steve, I met with the Neshoba Valley Technical High School, the teacher as well as the students to come out and take a look at what we were looking to do. They were very excited about the project. And the teacher, Jose, said that he thought it would be a great project for his students, that they were very willing to do the project and they could have it done before the end of this fiscal year. So if everybody is in favor of it, we can go forward with it. What they would do is actually start the project, get the majority of it done at the school, and then put it in place. So this is a little bit of a slight rendition of it. It shows, you know, it's a basic shed, but it does have the removable ramp, so that would not be sitting there all the time. And as I find my notes, sorry, about people in the audience. As I spoke with Steve, there are some things that we have decided that we'd like to, you know, help him out with, as well as, you know, the school department, what he would like to be able to store there as well. And we have no issues with that. And so we're in total agreement with that. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it. And
No questions for me. The location of the shed is fine for the school department.
Yeah, there's a current storage pod, whatever you want to call it there now, which is gonna move that to one of the other schools and drop one of the leases that we have.
Great.
Is this reduced size still gonna meet your needs?
yes, it will, because it's actually a little bit longer. It's just not as wide, but it'll still be fine. Yeah.
Updates, all sounds good. Great.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
appreciate
we
it.
didn't post as a needing a vote or anything, so we appreciate the update and.
And well,
continue.
you know,
Best plan.
once we get going and, you know, I get updates from the Neshoba Tech and, things like that, I'll come forward and just let you know where it's at and what we're doing. And when we move it forward to the school, and before we actually move it to the school, we'll let you know what we're doing and so we'll go from there.
Thanks for doing that extra work of working with Neshoba.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
thought it'd be
great,
a great.
it's a great
idea,
project,
so,
yeah.
Bring in, some of the students are actually from Littleton, so
Nice. Excellent. Thank you.
thank you so much for having me.
Got it.
Thank you.
Good. All right, that takes care of our new business. We have one presentation scheduled for this evening, as well as a couple of pieces of old business to speak during the interested citizens portion. Now would be your chance, otherwise it'll probably be about an hour from now. Please approach the podium. If we could just get your name and address for the record.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hello, I've actually got my notes prepared, so I'll have my ducks in a row. My name is Margot Bloomstein, 7 Wilson Lane. Hi. And left. Hi, anyone on Zoom. So I'm, as I said, my name's Margot. I'm a parent of a 4th grader at RSS. I'm also on the school advisory council. And I wanted to talk about 2 topics that are actually on the bottom of the agenda paper. It says in like big colorful letters, I think it's like respect and integrity and responsibility and accountability. And I believe that we have a responsibility to plan for student safety and security. And anybody that's here is accountable to parents who every day we hand over, I can say we, because I know many of us are, we hand over our kids into what we hope is a safe, secure environment. And that handoff is kind of marked by, maybe facilitated by trust. Unfortunately, as ICE has been stepping up attacks now on targets like schools, I think the latest DHS proclamation actually said, go after schools and hospitals and churches and whatnot. As they've been stepping up attacks on targets like schools, our district's lack of communication about how we're preparing to keep kids safe or how we're continuing to keep kids safe, that lack of communication is undermining trust. And I've been hearing about that kind of loss and the fear that goes along with it more and more. Because when we do have kind of a vacuum of communication, people bring into it their own like worst imagined anxieties and maybe very real anxieties and fears. And as part of my civic responsibility as a parent, as well as on the school advisory council, I need to hold our superintendent, our school committee, maybe and maybe other groups, but mostly those groups accountable for regaining the trust through better communication. As your civic responsibility, you need to communicate to parents how the school district, maybe in concert with the town, is going to continue to keep kids safe and secure. I'm not saying that you or the school district or the principals should be communicating explicit details, since that might actually undermine efforts. But parents do need to say, or do need to see something that says the school is preparing. We acknowledge that there's bad stuff going on in the world and we're okay, we're ready for it. You can trust us to be ready for it. At the school advisory council meeting in mid-November, I shared with Principal McDonald, as well as the other people there, fellow committee members, that I've been hearing from parents who were concerned, saying that they hadn't heard anything from the school or the district about ICE readiness and preparation. The teachers on the committee spoke up and said that they wanted training to know what to do, to be a part of doing the right thing. They were asking, do we treat it like an active shooter situation? What happens if ICE doesn't come to the front door, but instead approaches kids like on the playgrounds or on the playing fields? Do we want parent volunteers to escort kids into schools? I've been in touch with parents and community leaders in Minneapolis this week, as well as now up in Maine. Earlier this afternoon, I had a conversation with the head of the school board in one of our neighboring districts. Or I'm sorry, the head of the teachers union, very different, in one of our neighboring districts to hear what they're doing, what communication and guidance they've received. We might be trained and prepared. Maybe the teachers have gotten more training since that meeting that we had in early November, but we're not doing anything to communicate that preparation, and silence is stoking fear. Now, I know the Mass Teachers Association has issued guidance. The Office of the Attorney General has issued guidance that directs school staff to send ICE agents to district central offices. That's public knowledge. Now we're looking to you to translate that guidance and extend it to to Littleton's school needs. Where not every agent may come and ring the bell on the front door. And not acknowledging the current conditions doesn't make them go away, but it continues to perpetuate a culture of anxiety and fear. And I know that there may be some fear in this room or among other administrative leaders in our district that addressing parents' concerns may attract negative attention. I think we've got a whole lot of 20th century history to tell us that silence doesn't keep us safe. And that's why we have policies and parental communication about things like ALICE drills and sex ed. Just because we talk about it doesn't mean a bad thing is going to find us. But also, other schools in our area and beyond have been speaking with parents about the plans that they're making. This week, Worcester's superintendent emailed all families to explain how they're committed to keeping students safe. To basically say, yes, we also see what's going on. Here's the guidance that we've gotten. Here's what we're going to continue to do. In the fall, Lexington superintendent Julie Hackett emailed parents, and it was a model of, I'd say her email was a model of open, transparent, vulnerable communication. It was accessible communication. And she addressed things like how to talk with your kids about what they're seeing in the news, not to kind of ignore it. She shared guidance from the American Psychological Association about let's not just look the other way. And then she also shared how their staff had been participating in Know Your Rights training, how there was other training going on. She didn't go into detail, but she communicated, we're doing stuff, don't worry. She also shared how their staff, and area superintendents were continuing to meet to develop comprehensive approaches and then to contact your principal if you needed any other support. So they're building coalitions within their town and with other towns. And then she closed by saying, we're here for you. So there was training, planning, communication about training and planning, and guidance on next steps. It was not explicit details, but it was clear-eyed reassurance. And where's our reassurance? I mean, you don't respond that way.
Right, we won't, you know, if, when you're done with your 3-minute time, which you will, that's just totally fine. We
Soapbox off.
we
but,
could,
yeah,
we could offer a response, but we're not gonna go back and forth.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Discuss amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Margo. Superintendent Clinton is not here. I would often give him an opportunity to respond. I'll say I appreciate the remarks. It's on everybody's mind. As a school committee, we've talked about this topic with the superintendent before, I believe in public meeting. The response has been the exact guidance that you provided this evening, which is in the event that ICE visits the school doors are locked, you know, people just can't walk into the school, they need to be buzzed in. They would be directed to central office. And central office has got that same guidance, which is get the district's attorney involved to verify any documents, any requests that ICE might be making. There would be parent communication that would go out. If they wanted to speak with any students or obtain any records, documentation would need to be provided, to be verified through council. So if we're, you know, I appreciate the comment. If the community as a whole feels like we need to communicate this out to everyone, that there is a plan, that there has been training, the school committee can take that under advisement and make a recommendation to the superintendent. But I feel like, you know, it's oftentimes like we know because we ask the question and we're here all the time. We feel like the superintendent and the district knows what to do. And we have a safety and security committee and we're responsible for keeping the kids safe every day, no matter what the scenario might be. So I don't know if anybody else has anything to offer.
Well, Margo, I really appreciate the research that you did, talking with other communities, like you came so well prepared. And I know that took some time and effort and heart. So I appreciate you bringing this to us. So was it just at the last meeting, we voted to start a communication subcommittee.
Right.
So this is maybe something that the new subcommittee can, yep, the first assignment. But I think I'm glad you brought this up because the conditions have changed, you know, the way ICE is interacting with communities is not the same way it was several months ago. So, you know, I think we should talk about what's happening now and maybe have a new plan, but you know, certainly with this falls 100% under operations, which is the superintendent's purview. So I'll have to leave it at that for now. But thank you.
Sean and I will have a follow-up conversation with superintendent.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, Margo, very much. It is on everybody's mind. It's an important issue that for the community to together approach and deal with. And yeah, while it is an operations issue, it does behoove us to oversee and make sure it is addressed and it's something that is happening. I will admit to you that I am so torn. I am all about doing everything we can to prepare, to be ready. I am not willing to put out a loud statement that might allow our children to become targets. I'm happy, I'll be a target any day of the week, but the 6-year-olds, no. And it's a very difficult balance, I think. And I'm excited, I do think that we should do some more thinking and talking and discussing on how to achieve that balance.
Agree, I don't know if I can.
Yeah.
Technically, no. Thank you.
I'd just like to reiterate, I think you did a lot of research and I appreciate you clearly thought about that, taking a lot of time to consider this. And agreeing with Elaine and Justin said, we will have a subcommittee meeting shortly. I think we're working on arranging that right now. And we'll absolutely take this to.
Thank you.
Great.
See if there's a.
We will, we're all set. I've opened interest. Is there anybody else? Just double checking that's online since I opened up interested citizens again.
Sarah? Hold on, let me.
Bear with us for a minute.
Trying to allow her to speak, but it's not letting me. Sarah, can you hear us? There you go, there she is.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good to go.
Okay. I just want to express.
Sarah, just give
Yeah.
your name and address for the
Oh.
public record, please.
Yep. So my name is Sarah Buckholtz and I live at 1 Sarah Doublet Road.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I just want to express sincere gratitude to Margot for showing the kind of courage that is desperately needed right now. I think I might have missed something in the response because I just have two like points, one point, one question. I think I would have felt a lot better about about the response if I had heard some kind of like, or sensed some kind of like genuine validation regarding the value of transparent communication. I mean, something as simple as what I just heard you guys say would have been lovely through an email, but the lack of acknowledgement is what I find so offensive and concerning. The lack of acknowledgement of the issue. We have the DEIB committee that was started last year. Why? I mean, what are we? And the other question a question that I have is like, what are we afraid of? A speaker, one of the committee members just mentioned the fear of something leading to the targeting of children. Can I just get clarification on that? Like, how would a child be targeted? Like, what exactly was meant by that? Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Sarah. There's no obligation to respond, but if you would like to respond tonight.
There are communities that have issued very strong and inspirational statements. They have then become targets. I work with groups that are tracking that, and and I'm happy to talk about it offline more.
Is there anybody else?
Can I help? Sure. Just to address the first piece too, I think it was kind of highlighted. I think we all have, well, I don't speak everyone, I'll say it. I have serious concerns about ICE. I think that this is ultimately an operations issue, which is why I think members are maybe not as willing to, speak to how the communication would come out. I think that's something that we need to talk to Kelly about, which is why I was saying there's been an effort to create a subcommittee, and it's something we're going to address next week. So stay tuned.
Or anybody else?
There's nobody else.
All right, we are gonna close interested citizens session 1 for the second time. And we're gonna move into presentations. So we have one presentation scheduled for this evening, which is a clinical services update. Heads of the clinical team, Teresa Fiore, board certified behavior analyst, and Melissa Benson, school psychologist. We provide an overview of the district's clinical services. This update highlights the district's work to provide equitable tiered behavior and social emotional support for all students. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. So I'm Melissa Benson. I'm a school psychologist at the high school. My name is Teresa Fiore. I am one of our district-wide behavior analysts. We really appreciate the opportunity to come here and tell you a little bit about what we do. And as we go, we welcome you to ask us any questions, interrupt, or wait till the end. So go to the next slide. Oh, great. All right. This is our team. So at each school, we had at least one school psychologist full-time and one school counselor or adjustment counselor. And we're lucky at the high school to have more. We have 3 at the high school, and that reflects the work for the college and career readiness that we're doing there. And then in addition to that team, we have 2 board certified behavioral analysts plus additional contracted providers helping district-wide. Next slide. This year with our presentation, we are excited to also show off our 5 therapy dogs that we have throughout the district. When we were fortunate enough to present a few years ago, this wasn't an opportunity. So we have Omelet, who is currently at Russell Street School. We have Suki, Archie, and Red, who are at our high school, and Gizmo, who is at Shaker Lane. So every year or two, the clinical team is able to, come here and share about with you. And the topics we'd like to cover today are Care Solace, our mental health screener updates, and then updates about each of the tiered services we're providing at the 4 schools. So go to the next slide. Care Solace, as you know, is the referral service funded through the district that's to our students, staff, community members, and families. That really takes away the legwork of it's a lot of work to call around to try to find a therapist, only to be told that there are really wait lists. So we are able to give, with family permission, give a student named Care Solace. They will do that work of calling around and leaving voicemails, and then give a list of available providers to the family. So here's some data from the past year. These inbound interactions are all the times that any staff member, student, family member, or community member sought help from Care Solace. The communication saved. This is the legwork on us that was saved. So the voicemails and the calls and the emails, it's a lot. It's a big number. Those warm handoffs are times that we gave a student name and asked for help, right? And then you could see cases that families initiated. Those that families change their mind. Sometimes they're not interested. But the most important number there is that 17, and those are students who actually made it into therapy and had at least one session with a therapist. So for YRBS, this is our youth risk behavior survey. So every 2 years, Littleton participates in our youth risk behavior survey that is a comprehensive look at the physical and mental well-being of our students. So we typically support students grades 6, 8, and 9 through 12. This is a survey that looks at similar districts, has about 80 questions, and really looks at the important issues that are affecting our students' mental and physical well-being. And this then tracks the data from what the students have reported 2 years ago. So our data provides encouraging improvements in mental health with a decline in substance abuse from 2022. It also highlighted some vulnerabilities among our marginalized students, students who are identified as LGBTQ+ or certain racial minorities. And in particular, our 2024 survey looked at the impact of technology and social media. So this looked at students who reported that they were on screen time longer, or that they had social media that was either monitored or wasn't monitored by their families. All of these surveys are anonymous, and what we're hoping to do as a clinical department and throughout the schools is to utilize the resources that our district already provides, such as Panorama, to create our own survey that would be able to look at more targeted data and get the data back to our teachers and clinicians faster. Typically, this data gets back to us in about 6 months. So after 6 months, we aren't able to immediately support the students. So we're looking at a way to really provide an impact sooner for our students. Next slide, please. Thank you. So like our academic services, we try to design our clinical services to fit within the MTSS framework. So it's multi-tiered systems of support. And that's a framework for how schools can build supports and services for kids to meet all students' needs. So the school building in the middle of your graphic, right? So we have mini models, represent MTSS in this way, either with a pyramid. So we have your most universal, your tier 1 at the bottom, and that's for everybody. That's your high quality instruction for everyone. That Ms. Steele talks about UDL, Universal Design for Learning. That's where that fits, right? So if we have an example of someone trying to teach social skills to our kids. That's at the middle school and high school level, we have advisory curriculums. At Shaker Lane, they work really hard on their morning meeting. So that's for everyone. Tier 2, this is your targeted for some students, right? So our groups might have social skills groups. I do lunch groups at the high school. And then tier 3 is for the few. These are your highly specialized, individualized services. So again, in the social example, that might be one-on-one counseling and social skill development with me. It might be a behavior support plan, BCBA, or speech language therapy and social pragmatics. So the chart on the right shows some examples for Littleton Public Schools. It's not at all exhaustive. We'd like to show you in the next few slides are across each school a sampling of some of the tiered services that we're actually providing now, 13. So when we look at the highlights from some of our younger students, really the themes is how our students label their emotions, how are they navigating friendships at this age, how are they increasing their self-advocacy and problem solving while also still enjoying and wanting to come to school. Some individual topics that our clinicians are working on are loss of a pet or a family member at this age, problem solving social challenges at recess, out on the playground, at lunch, emotional regulation skills, identifying stressors, and starting to begin creating those adaptive coping strategies. Great. And then once we get to middle and high school, the services are similar, but the focus shifts more to independence. If you don't mind switching to the next slide, Maura, thank you. So focusing on independence and executive functioning, our students at this age are feeling a lot more academic anxiety, seeing more attendance issues, focusing on mental health symptoms, substance use, college and career readiness. So you see that reflected in the themes with the individual group counseling. We also are working on building our screening this is what Teresa had talked about, more real-time data. So we're looking at the middle school, we have the Signs of Suicide program. So which aims to help students understand what to look for in themselves and in their peers, and teachers how to respond, and then us to assess the risk and respond with appropriate referrals. And then at the high school, similar themes. So we're looking at anxiety and depression, trying to proactively recognize that in students before it becomes, a clinical diagnosis, right? Look them up with some of those tier 1, 2, and 3 supports at the school, but also with outside providers. In addition, we see a lot at the middle and high school, we see more students have extended absences for medical or mental health reasons. So our clinical team supports them to focus on their health. And then when they come back to reintegrate into the school and get back with academics, they're not stressed while they're gone. And then as our student representative had mentioned, we work a lot with climate and culture throughout school. So for example, next week at the high school is Great Kindness Challenge. We'll be doing door decorating and Spirit Week themes. And that's really that's that tier 1 universal to try to build a culture of kindness and caring for all students. And highlighted throughout the entire district, we wanted to also look at our tier 3 supports as needed. So this includes our psychoeducational testing, individualized behavior support plans, IEP counseling and consultation. We also collaborate with the Wellness Committee, our CPAC, related service providers, educators, administrators, and community-based providers. So this looks like us teaming up with teachers, going into their classes to do whole group lessons across the whole district.
Right, and some of our workers they coordinate the 504 plans. It's been amount of work. We are participants on our student support team, which is a teams where teachers can make referrals for students where they need a little extra help, and we can brainstorm some ideas. Do risk assessments, so students who we believe are at risk for harming themselves or others, and safety planning, care solace, and then our monthly meetings.
And that's something I think we're really proud of as a clinical team, is that with our district being the size that it is, once a month, we're able to meet in person to, in real time, go through caseloads, to work through any consultation questions, or just be able to pick each other's brain and have that in-person meeting to rely on our team members to really support one another and be able to work together during the faculty-led PDs to make sure that we're up to date on what the current research is saying.
So thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we do. And you have any questions for
Thank you
us?
for joining us this evening. Great presentation. Open up to the school committee members, questions or comments, Sean?
Yeah, I was just curious, you referenced some data at the top of your presentation. Will we be able to see that data, like the data set? So there's like no names attached here, obviously, but
It's a several hundred page report. We don't have it with us to pull out, but it's available.
okay, great. Very curious about that. I just wanted to see, I know in the fall we rolled out a new phone plan, a new phone policy. Have you seen an impact in that?
So at the high school level, we're hearing good things. Teachers are actually saying that there are students that are appreciating not being distracted by their phones all the time, right? And we still have students that struggle with it and it's hard for them to put it away. But I think in terms of being able to focus, they know that the phones take away from their focus. So that they're appreciative that it's in there, no matter how difficult it is to put that in that little shoe container, right? So that's what I'm noticing at the high school. I can speak more to the middle school. At the middle school, I think that the staff members went in and from the beginning said, okay, we are making sure that our cell phones are away. And what I was speaking to the behavior analyst is that stimulus control from when if a student has, say, their phone out in the hallway or in a cafeteria and a teacher walks by, like, I gotta put this away now. So we're seeing less of it in the classroom. Something I've also seen less of is the earbuds within their ears as well while they're learning. And the students have reported, same at the high school, they're feeling less stress, especially with how prevalent social media is these days as well.
Sorry, one more question, just, I know that at recent years, we changed the schedule at the different schools to allow more sleep at the high school. Are you seeing the impact of that?
I don't know that we saw.
Well, we still have kids who are late. We knew that going into the schedule, but I think the feedback has been positive, particularly from parents and students over just since we implemented that 8:05 change from 7:25. It allows people more time to, especially dropping off others, the younger siblings at school, but we still have, a notable number of kids who are a couple minutes late. But I think it's been a positive impact, just speaking directly as the principal, observing the kids' arrival every day. I think it was a good change to have 8:05. Just, we didn't look at I don't have exact numbers for you in terms of the number of tardies, but we still have a prevalence of tardies, and it's just notable among adolescents that they run late sometimes and they make stops to dunks. We know why they're late. And we have the other thing about speaking directly about the high school. We have that one entrance. So parents, students will always talk about how traffic backs up. If they don't allow for extra time, just like all of us in our lives, they'll be backed up with traffic. But there's only one, because of the new estate road, this entrance or exit is, closed it off. That backs up traffic. So that's a factor too. But overall, to answer your question directly, I think it's been positive for students to get an extra half hour.
I was even thinking like more on the mental health side of.
Yeah,
Students are getting more sleep too. Right?
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that.
They're sleeping more.
Right?
That was the whole idea.
When I was on the committee for the change of the school start time subcommittee, and I remember people saying, well, kids are just gonna stay up late anyway, the high school kids.
Right.
And they do, but I think for, in the main, it's been a positive. It's allowed the kids that extra time in the morning. John, you prompted me to think about maybe survey. We have a lot of questions for the kids about just getting feedback on things. It would be easy to, when we're talking about a survey about just things related to school culture and things, it would be an interesting item to put on our survey just to say, get their reactions to, has it been positive, or not. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. I have a few questions. I hope you don't mind.
No.
So when I was looking through the packet ahead of time and I noticed, there's a variety of job titles. So I was curious the difference between a counselor and an adjustment counselor.
Yes, so
my understanding, so I'm a school psychologist, so that's not.
That
my
one I
line.
understand.
But, so my understanding, school counselor is more of a broader focus on academic planning and college and career readiness, right? And the social emotional learning, whereas the adjustment counselor has more specialized training in mental health, the more complex behavioral challenges. However, many of our workers have dual licenses, they have both, so maybe did the grad work for both. So able to do some, we all overlap
Yeah.
in certain areas, and then we have our own little areas of specialty. Like I do the testing, the school counselors are the college career readiness at the high school level, right? And then adjustment counselors kind of coming across many of those with also the mental health care support and the school culture climate.
So that kind of leads into my next question, which was about, so you've talked about some pieces of SEL and some behavior management, and I was wondering if you could explain like how that intersects with mental health. Are there a lot of overlaps, or do you consider them three different things?
Which was so SEL.
So like SEL and behavior and mental health.
I mean, I think we work so closely as an interdisciplinary team that, for example, the student support services team, if we're looking at referring a student, or if a student is brought up and there are both mental health and behavior concerns, we would be working as an interdisciplinary team, and we might be also working with some of our related service providers as well. So that could include our speech and language pathologists, OTs, PTs. So when I think that our team is very skilled at being able to blend both the behavior and the social emotional, because I think they're so intertwined. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. And then, I mean, so much of this is overlapping, and I'm trying to figure out the different pieces. So you talked also about the survey. Is that something that you look at for broad trends, or does that actually help you identify students?
So with the broad trends, that is with the YRBS, that is an anonymous survey. Our goal with using a program such as Panorama to nuance data where, for example, the SOS, we are able to see which students in that moment are identified as high risk. With this data, we are just getting a broad overview of the average compared to 2 years ago. What we would like to look at is who are those students that are spiking on our scales, because the YRBS is about 80 questions. It's a long survey. How can we really format that to target based on the data that we've had for a few years to ask the questions that are going to be the most impactful, that might help, say, a health teacher target the challenges that the students are reporting that they're facing. So I would like to see more targeted data or targeted questions for the students, and that's really what our aim is for the future.
So until you have that targeted data, is it mostly like teacher referrals that are helping you identify the kids that need help?
Students also self-refer.
Yeah. Yep. Students,
And parents also.
parents.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
But we do have some targeted data through our screeners, and we use those directly to decide which students would like to participate in a group or in individual counseling. And students know that those screeners are voluntary, and parents do as well. There are opt-outs for it. And so we try to make it really clear that for students, the difference between anonymity, right, and privacy and all that, so we know your name, there's a small group of students, so that we can identify if a student flags for suicide risk. I want to know that student's name, and I want to be able to respond that day and call home. So we have that information, but we're working to build that. Yeah.
So I have one more question, just about your capacity. It seems like you're doing so much for so many kids. And do you feel like that you have the capacity for the workload, or are you, if in a perfect world, would you wish that you had more?
Sure, perfect world, sure, that we have more staff. I think we are well staffed where we have full-time school psychologist, full-time counselor, at least 2 BCBAs plus the sports. We do have a really robust team. More would be great.
Yeah.
And the need is always there. I think, and if we ever do see a need arise where we need extra support, we are able to reach out and have contracted specialists come in as well.
Oh, okay,
If
so you do have a
necessary.
backup plan.
Yeah, there-
Oh, it's a backup plan.
Yeah, yeah,
There's plans and contingency plans and backup
Yeah.
plans. and-
Yeah.
Yes.
okay, that's
But
great.
with more than one person in each school, if one of us is busy, we are generally able to work and we, it's very fluid, if I'm meeting with someone and a student who typically sees me is having a hard day, somebody else is available there. We're a small enough school that we know most of the students and most of the students know us, and so we can share each school.
Thank you so much. Sorry for all the questions.
No, that's
but
Love
I'm very
We
interested.
like to talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you. This is brilliant.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Oh,
Yeah,
did you
thanks.
just, do you have any questions?
No, you address them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get some.
And,
Oh, right. All right, we got a number of old business items to touch upon this evening. So the first of which is discussion on the fiscal year 27 budget. Business manager Steve Mark will provide an overview.
Right, so, all right, so we started our budget, FY 27 budget request, at a 2.75% increase, to $725,911 increase over the FY 26 budget. That would have made our budget request $27,119,490. However, the chairman was approached by finance committee members, board of selectmen members. He alluded to that at the last meeting. They asked the school department to reduce our budget request by $600,000 due to a number of factors that are out of control on the town budget side. OPEB, health insurance costs, things like that. I won't try to talk about the town budget, but they asked us to reduce our budget by $600,000. So where we were was, this is the breakdown of our initial request. So we had salary increases of $874,000. We offset those salaries with revolving fund funds, school choice, grant funds, pre-K tuition funds of approximately $550,000. We had operational increases, busing increase of $134,000, and that's made up of two components. That's a contractual cost of living adjustment. But then the bulk of that was, I forgot the exact number. It's about $87,000 of the 3-year commitment that we agreed to when we went from 2-tier busing to 3-tier busing, right? So we went from 8 buses to 14 buses. That added additional cost. We absorbed that cost the first year, and then we phased that additional cost into our budget request over 3 years. This would have been the 3rd year. However, that was in there. Curriculum materials, based on our curriculum review cycle, $150,000. Substitute costs, substitutes costs are going through the roof. Not only do we have to increase the rates to attract people, but it's flu season, a lot of staff are out, and it's been a trend for a number of years, so we really need to increase those costs to be able to cover those. Supplies and materials, this was some custodial supplies. This was some increase in our copier costs. We had a request from our schools to put in color copy machines, color multifunction machines. That's part of that $42,000. So the total increase was $725,911, again 2.75. That's where we were. After reviewing, in order to get to that targeted $600,000 decrease, this is the plan. So we're going to reduce our budget request of the busing cost, but we're going to cover those busing costs out of the bus revolving fund. We have a little bit of surplus in that revolving fund. We didn't spend all of the money last year. It rolls forward, so we can cover, we believe we can cover most of that increase out of that revolving fund. The curriculum materials, the $150,000, a number of years ago, we used to have a cross charge to the Tigers Den program for the use of the facilities. We stopped that during the COVID period. We are reinstituting that cross charge into the Tigers Den program. They took a big hit over COVID. The numbers weren't back up to where they were. The revenues were down. So we've allowed them to have a couple of years where they built up the balance in that revolving fund for emergency services. We now have a sufficient balance where we can now cross charge into that program and not affect that program. So we'll take $150,000 out of that to go toward, it really offsets our operational cost. Additional salary offsets. Again, we charge pre-K tuition. We had a discussion on that a couple of weeks ago about increasing the fees. Increasing the fees doesn't cover the $50,000. It doesn't really cover it much at all. However, again, what we did last year was we didn't spend all of the money out of the pre-K revolving fund. And we have a little bit of a surplus in there that we can dip into to help this 1 year budget gap. So that's what we're going to do. And then our sped out of district tuition costs, we can reduce that line by $165,000. We've had some students move out of district we are no longer fiscally responsible for, and so we can pick that up. So that's the $600,000. So that's the plan to reduce the budget, which would mean, again, there's our FY26 budget. Our initial request is $725 less than $600,000. So our net budget increase request this year is $125,823, which is a 0.48% down from the 2.75% for a budget request of $26,519,402. This is the balance. This is the budget request that the town has built into their budget model. With the school able to reduce that request by $600,000, that balances the town budget, or so I'm told. So that's very quick summary of where we're at. It was, we talked to our administrative team. The superintendent was involved. We had meetings with the budget subcommittee. We've all agreed that this is a viable plan for next year. We do concern over FY28. Some of this is sustainable, some of this is not. We had budget discussions last week with the town administrator, the Steve Venuti from the FinCom, the town treasurer, the finance manager, the assistant town manager. We're all in a meeting where we discuss this plan. So they're happy with it. We believe it's doable for next year. Again, for FY28, we're going to have to look at it again. Some of this is just sustainable, and some we're going to have to figure out for FY28, but it gets us through FY27.
Next, a quick question. The line item where you're talking about possible retirement savings of $100,000, is that teachers retiring?
That's teachers that we know.
At a high salary
yes,
level,
that's teachers that we know are retiring.
Coming in.
We've estimated what we think we might be able to hire on, but again, we're not dictating who we hire or what we hire at. We try to hire the best teacher for the position. But if there's an opportunity there, we'll certainly try to encourage to pick up some savings through those hirings.
And this is based on historical data?
Correct.
Yeah. Thanks.
Any other questions? Steve, nice job. I'll add that, when we first got together to go through the budget, we went through it pretty closely. We were actually quite excited to be presenting the town a 2.75% increase.
Yeah.
The slides that we had seen 6 months prior at joint meetings with the school committee, with the select board and the finance committee, there was a placeholder in there for a 3%. And, for us to come in at 2.75, we felt like we were really doing our fair share of the job. And then they didn't approach just the school department for a reduction in budget. They approached everybody because the problem was in the neighborhood of $2.2 or $2.3 million. And we were asked to shelter about $600,000 that precisely. So, we felt like that was fair. And just because I didn't hear you say it, in case people are wondering, you did a nice job going through it, but I want to say, like, when we asked the town for busing money, we spend all of the money on busing. It's then when we collect the user fees that we have the ability to retain some of that money in the event that we, ran into extra busing over the course of the year. We had a need for a change bus or something happened. We're carrying a little bit of cushion there so that we don't have to run back to a special town meeting and beg for more money. We're now spending the vast majority of that down to zero to get through this year. Tiger's Den, the goal is that's a break-even program. So the fact that we have extra money in that program is from years ago when there was a thought process, maybe we would try to move Tiger's Den into a different facility of its own and we'd have this big program and all this good stuff. We've abandoned that idea for now. So we're spending down that money. Same goes for pre-K. That as we went through, that's a program that we run at a loss. But we're spending some of that money down. So this is not a sustainable plan by any stretch of imagination. We're limping through fiscal year 27 and prepared for the worst for 28, where we hope things could change for the better, but I don't see any indication that they're going to. I just want to highlight for everyone's benefit that our salaries are projected to go up $874,000, and we're only asking the town for an extra 125. So we're nowhere even close to covering just the contractual salaries within our budget. So obviously this problem is going to surface in the near future without some major changes on the revenue side of the town. We're fortunate to be in the position that we are, where we were carrying some of these funds for a rainy day, and it's here. So we're spending them down, and we'll have to revisit this very closely for fiscal year 28.
Thank you for presenting this so clearly.
Well, I hope it's clear, but
Yeah, no, it is. It's very clear.
Here's something to do with this year. I appreciate it.
So this,
Conversations are honestly only going to get more difficult.
I'm just hanging on to, this doesn't mean any reduction in staff right now. And that's a huge thing. But watching our margins get thinner and thinner.
correct. The important thing is next year, we're not planning program cuts or staffing cuts or things like that. We believe we can cover the requirements of the budget FY 27 with this plan. And again, we have to revisit it for FY 28 and then rethink FY 28.
All right, we're all set there. Similar type topic. Old business agenda item number 2, which is a financial update. So again, business manager Steve Martin.
So the reports in your packet.
Year-to-date update.
Reports in your packet. Again, right now I don't see any anticipated issues with meeting our obligations through the end of the year. To remind school committee, when you look at some of these percentages, when you look at regular education, I mean, this is through December, so technically we're halfway through the fiscal year. Remind school committee that we withhold part of teacher salaries when they elect to do 26 pay, so they get over the summer. So we do a big balloon payment in June at the end of the school year to pay them over the summer. So that's why that's a little low. Special education looks a little low because we tap into the circuit breaker funds for their out-of-district tuition costs. We spend those circuit breaker funds down because we're required by law to spend those within a year. So we spend that money first and then we reach into the appropriated budget and start spending that budgeted tuition line down. So that's why that number appears low. Everything else is fairly on track. We should be in the 40 to 50% available range, and you can see we're pretty close on most of these. So again, we're working with the town assistant administrator, Tony Souza, and we're working, Tony Souza and Dave Riley is our energy manager. We're working on a joint natural gas contract to reduce our natural gas costs. That'll save us some money. Although this sub-degree weather we're going to hit over the next couple of days is going to help. But we're doing very well temperature wise and budget wise this year with the natural gas. So hopefully those costs, we'll see a reduction in those line items as well. But so we're looking at efficiencies throughout the budget in order to meet our obligation. But right now, there's no indication that there's any issues within the budget for the end of the year.
I have a question, actually, this might be for the previous section, but I know over history, we have relied on school choice funds to provide a bit of a cushion. Was that part of your calculation with the reducing the 600,000?
It was part of the earlier.
It's
plan.
part of the early, so
But it wasn't part of this more recent shift.
no, we're hoping not to use school choice funds to cover the 600,000. We do use part of the school choice funds to regularly offset our salary costs. That's about $250,000 a year. And then if you remember, we also agreed with the town to use some of those school choice funds to pay for our capital needs this year and next year. And that's $400,000 to $600,000. So we are using school choice funds for the schools. We're just trying not to use it as operational. We try to use it for one-time costs.
Yeah, we agreed to approximately 400,000 for fiscal year 26 and 27.
Right.
Steve's got the projects lined up. We haven't spent the money to date, but we're gonna spend about $800,000 over the next 18 months.
Right.
So now we're fortunate that we have the money. It doesn't show up quickly, but we end up, you can spend it in a flash.
Yeah.
And that's what we're running into.
Yeah.
So it took years upon years upon years of proper fiscal management to get to where we're at. I said, the rainy days here.
Right, but we also can't ignore the capital needs of the school. We have HVAC units that are 20 years old. They have a lifespan of 13 or 14 years. We've stretched them for 20 years. So we need to make some investment. We need to continue those investments into our facilities.
And that, we've said it before, but just for the record, that $400,000 spent fiscal year 26 and 27 for total 800 was arrived at a strategy related to Shaker Lane. So the school, the finance committee was looking at earmarks, some level of free cash to put towards the Shaker Lane project. We basically said, hey, we'll spend some of our own money on facilities maintenance, and the money that you would typically give to the school department, you can go ahead and put in the Shaker Lane account, and it therefore reduces the taxpayer's obligation. So it's sort of a win-win for everybody.
Right.
So we shouldn't, we agree to evaluate it every year, but it's not like we're obligated to spend $400,000 of school choice money every year for our own capital needs.
So can I ask then, I'm adding the 400 to the 600, right? Does that mean that going into FY 28, we're looking at, if all things are equal, $1 million?
That's separate. So the 600,000 reduction is operational appropriated money, taxpayer money coming in for operations. The 400 and 400, those are part of the capital plan. Those are funded separately.
Okay.
Separate request to the town. It's all the same money.
Right.
It's all the same source, tax revenue.
Right.
But the idea is pay for operational stuff and then have some free cash, decide what we're going to invest in the town for capital needs, and then park some in a savings account so that we don't always have to borrow for projects. We could maybe one day pay for something with cash, not obligated to the taxpayer to a debt repayment.
Right. Typically, the town funds capital projects through free cash. At the end of the year, when they close out their fiscal year, whatever the free cash they have available, they allocate that between whatever the town priorities are and then some capital projects. We just agreed that for 2 years, the school department, because we have a relatively high school choice balance right now, we'd agreed to work that balance down to the financial policy amount of, what was it, 10%?
10%
Of our operating budget to hold as a school choice balance, is like kind of like a reserve. I don't want to call it a reserve, but it's basically a reserve.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right now, we're borrowing for buildings. We don't want to have to start borrowing for fire trucks and police cars. attached to the expense.
Yeah.
All right.
We're totally off topic.
And honestly, I think the town is, in my opinion, I think the town is happy to support the schools. When I look at the data, it appears that the other town departments have all taken budget cuts, not budget request cuts, actual budget cuts to their operating budgets. The school department, from what I can tell, is the only department that's getting a little bit of an increase for FY 27. So I think the town is trying to support the school to the extent that they can.
Putting that out.
Yeah, thank you for coming back. You all set there?
Yep.
Great
All
job,
right,
Steve.
thank you.
Thanks so much. Old business item number 3, which is mission statement reflection. The school committee will reflect on the first half of the school year in regards to their mission statement. Take a moment to read the mission statement, which is the top of the letterhead. The mission of the Littleton Public Schools is to ensure that every student is supported in reaching their highest potential through a commitment to continuous improvement. We achieve this by setting clear policies that provide strong governance, support equitable practices, preparing and managing a responsible school department budget, aligns resources with student needs, and providing thoughtful evaluation and guidance to the superintendent. Together with the community, we strive to prepare all students to be critical thinkers who are engaged citizens and lifelong learners. I will open this up for discussion.
Well, just to be clear, this is the mission statement of the school committee, not of the school department,
Correct.
right? Just for people following from home.
Sorry, did I not?
Yeah, no, you
I'll
said
say
the
that.
school department, so I just want to, because we have a separate mission statement for the school district.
Yeah, I'm
And
sorry.
this is a
Thank
mission
you for catching
statement.
that. This is
Yeah.
our mission statement.
Yeah, this is our, which reflects the things that are in our purview.
Did
I don't know.
Did I read it wrong on the agenda or in the mission
No,
statement?
just now, when you were reading it out loud. Yeah,
Mission of the Littleton School Committee
you said the mission of the Littleton School District, which,
is a slip of tongue.
well, that's fine, but
We caught it.
I don't want to be picky, but just for those, anyone listening at home, I didn't want them to think we had a mission statement that was very restricted, you know, that this is just for the stuff that we do. I was looking at it earlier and I think, I still like it. I still think it reflects what we're doing. I think this is what we're striving toward. I don't know if it's helpful to talk about ways we are trying to achieve these various.
Yeah, so
Aspects.
I don't believe there's anything wrong with the mission statement of the school. I almost did it again. School
Yeah.
committee. You're right, school committee. I think this is an opportunity to reflect on the work that we've done and the work that we've heard thus far to see if we believe that we're firing on all cylinders. You know, tonight's presentations thus far have key elements within this mission statements of the school committee. So there's been a lot of work this year around the budget and, you know, striving and preparing a budget that meets the town needs, but also ensures that we have a delivery of educational and level services. We heard examples tonight, the school psychologist and school counselors about the needs of our students. And they said, you know, well, of course, we'd love to have more people, but they're doing great work. We've heard presentations about the MAP scores and the MCAS scores and the schools' opportunity to reflect on areas of the curriculum or strategies that they can put, you know, that they can work together as a team to make sure that, and they said, you know, we work on something and we do better at it. And then of course, that time gets sucked away some other place and we miss these other questions. We've heard a lot about wit and wisdom and then move towards that. And the teachers really digging in on that, being in here too. So, I mean, in my opinion, we have a great school district. We're continuing to have a great school district. We've got great people here. I don't want to pat ourselves on the back, but I think as a school committee, we do a nice job of having clear agendas and hearing from the school department as to what's happening, what's taking place. I think we're all engaged. We're prepared when we come to the meetings to ask good questions.
I also would just jump in, Sugar Lane. I think that, we're talking about creating equity in a way where, providing for students, we're gonna give more space, give better space for students, and that was a big accomplishment as well.
It was a huge win. The one place where I might say I'd like personally to be working on an improvement is communication with the community at large and being sure that people like understand what we're doing and feel that they have access to the information that we are putting out. I've talked to community members that struggle because they're putting kids to bed, and kids have homework and they've had a long day at work. And so I think that it is difficult to access all this good stuff that we're doing sometimes. I'm throwing it out here and I honestly don't actually have a good idea of how to improve it, but I'm just throwing out, I'd love to work on that and make it so that people feel more connected to us.
I appreciate that. It's interesting that we had a citizen this evening approach us on a topic of you wish that this school department would communicate to the community on. We created a communications subcommittee. We've chosen by design to make our meetings both in person and hybrid. Sean's running a podcast. He's running virtual office hours.
Substack.
We love that.
So yeah, I get that. I was gonna say, this isn't just an opportunity to say we're doing well. Like I would welcome the opportunity to do things that the committee would like to hear about on the second half of the year to make sure that we address these things. So it's no surprise to me that communication is
Helps.
it's sort
It's
of
difficult.
the thorn in every organization.
Yeah.
If you can get that figured out,
Yeah.
I think
Well,
you're lying to yourself, but
Janine, while you were talking, it seems like we've focused a lot on transparency, which is basically giving everyone access to all the raw data. But what we're not doing so much is packaging it in a way that the messaging, right? So that people who are busy, who are putting their kids to bed, who've had a long day, that they don't have to, look at the whole video of a school committee meeting to find out what's happening, that somebody is digesting it for them and messaging that, like the important stuff that you need to know. So I think that's, I would love to see a shift from transparency to communication. That makes sense.
I will say, and I agree with that, one of the efforts I'm making, and I know, only some people have figured out what a Substack is, and so I'm doing a better job pushing it out. I'm trying to do a recap of every meeting, posting it the next morning. And additionally, the guests that I'm going to have on for the podcast next month, not to give that away, but it's going to be the folks that presented on the STEM last meeting, and so I'm hoping that kind of using great things we're seeing in meetings is good for that as well, and kind of pushing it forward. But I agree. I think we need to figure out where people are, right? I think that everything's kind of scattered now. So is it email, is it social media, is it the podcast, is it, and just trying to figure out how to meet them where they're at. I agree. Whether it's updating a website, whatever it's going to be, that's great.
And the other thing that I think we are making progress with is the part about strong governance, because I think we've had some really good discussions this year in our school committee meetings, whereas past practice has been more being an audience for presentations. So it was sort of putting us in a position where we were reacting to things that had already happened. And now I think just by virtue of the things that we have on our agenda, we're starting to talk about things in the moment where it gives us more of an opportunity to provide strong governance. So that I feel like is a win, and I'd like to keep doing that.
agreed. Paul, one of the ways to do that is through school committee policy. I think school committee policy, the subcommittees been doing great work this year. I think we've been spending more time on policy, taking the time to go through them, making sure that it feels right, that the wordsmithing is correct. So it seems tedious, but it's one of the three things that we're charged with.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate that the policies that are coming up feel relevant to what we're working on in the moment. So it's not like we're just going down a list. It's, these are ones that are important to us right now. So somebody is carefully selecting the policies to be relevant in the moment. So I appreciate that.
All right, we all set there?
So,
Certainly something that we can revisit any agenda, so.
Yep.
If you feel the need, bring it to the forefront. All right, our fourth order of new business this evening is the superintendent search update. Looks like there's a need for a substitution here, so we're seeking, I'll ask for discussion, but it reads, we're seeking a motion to appoint Raina Sturts to serve on the superintendent search screening committee in place of Catherine Johnson.
Yeah, so basically the background on that is that Catherine Johnson wasn't necessarily able to get there in person, and we felt that was important. You know, if you're doing deliberation, it's important to be able to read the room and see people reacting to things. So, and just doing trainings and stuff. So Rena Sturts was willing to step up. So yeah.
yeah, and she was, so those two teachers were representing the special ed. So we needed, you know, when Catherine Johnson indicated that she didn't have the capacity for the in-person meetings, we looked for another applicant that was also representing that same constituency. So that's, so Raina Sturts has volunteered to do that. So because we had voted on the slate at the last meeting, we need to vote to make a change in slate. So it's, do you want to just get, since we're talking about it, do you want to just get that part done, and then we can talk about the overview of what's going on?
Sure, be happy to accept the motion.
I have a motion to appoint Raina Sturts to serve on superintendent search screening committee in place of Catherine Johnson.
Motion made by Sean, seconded by Janine this time. It's like an echo over here. Race. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Carries.
Okay. Thank you for doing that little piece of housekeeping. So I just wanted to update you on where we are. We've been, a lot is going on very quickly. So we had the public forum on January 15th, and we had about a dozen people in person, about another dozen virtual. And Alicia Mallon, who's our consultant from MASC, was there leading the discussion. Like, she had a lot of prompting questions to try to get folks to contribute ideas of what they are looking for in our next superintendent, what they think the district priorities should be. No surprise, the top, number one thing everybody was talking about was communication. So we are hearing this from all sides. But anyway, that was super helpful. We took a lot of notes from it. So we really feel like we've heard from and met a lot of folks from the community. That was really helpful. Beanel was there, Steve was there. So it was really, I think it was a great event. Then just on Tuesday, the 20th, we had the orientation of our screening committee. So we had, you know, our 19-person screening committee got a full hour of explanation of the job ahead of us, signed a confidentiality agreement, made plans for the dates that we'll be meeting coming forward. So all of those will be posted as open meetings. And what's happening now is there's still the survey is still posted on the district website, and the deadline is tomorrow. So anyone who's listening, if you intend to provide your thoughts on the community survey of what you're looking for the district priorities, what you're looking for our next leader of the school district, it is open through tomorrow. It's on the homepage of the district website. Sean, are there any other places people can find it?
I've been sending it out through the Substack, but yeah, I think that's the main spot. I believe it got pushed out through School Now as well. Do we know if it closes at midnight tomorrow or at a certain time?
It just says the date, so I would imagine it's midnight.
Perfect.
But we'll be using the information that we get from that survey and the information that people came forward with in person at the public forum to develop our vision. So we'll have a vision statement for what we're looking for to be the best fit for our community. that will be part of a brochure that's being developed, so, so I'm not sure who it was at central office that pulled together all of the wonderful information we had asked for, but we've got, the history of the town, how we define our community and photos and, what applicants need to know to understand what Littleton is all about. So that's all being put together, as a brochure. We'll be developing the application, and the application goes out February 2nd. So that's a week from Monday. So we are zipping along here with our timeline. So we've already decided our dates for reviewing applications and for interviews. So we've got a lot done in a short amount of time. Really happy with the progress, really happy with our screening committee, a lot of super talented people that are making a great contribution. So we are in good shape going forward. There's still a lot left to do.
I want to thank Beth for showing up for the open, forum as well, but
Yeah.
I'm excited for
Yes.
what we have ahead of us.
Yeah, it was interesting. One of the questions was, what does the superintendent do and who is the staff that helps him do that? So fortunately we had Beth there, so she got up and explained the whole organizational chart of what, who works at central office. So that was really helpful.
Yeah, that really helped the conversation. I think people then knew what they wanted to ask once they
Right.
kind of better understood what the role was.
Not just calling snow days.
Not just, I know,
Yeah,
right?
if he was here, he's gonna call Monday.
I know,
Yeah.
right?
But it's really been very energizing working with the community on this. There's a lot of really invested people that have so much to contribute. So, Sean would join me in saying that we are really enjoying the process.
Yeah, we're very fortunate people we have working with us.
All right, good. All right, that wraps up the old business portion of the evening. This is our second opportunity for interested citizens.
Is nobody online?
Only bunch tonight. All right, we'll roll through our subcommittee reports, first of which is PMBC.
Yes, PMBC will meet next week, so I expect to have more of an update then. I can also kind of update on Sugar Lane since it's kind of all tied in.
Please do.
So Sugar Lane, we met last night. I'm expecting to know more about kind of the timeline going forward when we meet next month, but we did have Kildane join us in the meeting, and we got to meet the team, or at least everyone on the committee got to meet the team. That was great. So we approved some warrants, but that was the big thing last night.
All right, budget subcommittee. Budget subcommittee's got a couple meetings scheduled coming up. And tonight's presentation has really been what the budget subcommittee's been working on, so everybody's kind of up to speed on that. Policy subcommittee's got a number of policies to be read for a second reading. Typically Bino leads the charge on this, but she wasn't able to make this evening. Janine, you want to, why don't you walk us through the information that's presented in the packet?
So at our last meeting, we actually walked through all the changes and explained and talked about them. And what we had decided in the meeting is what we wound up in what is presented here, as far as I know. Does everybody agree that that's what happened?
Yes.
Good. May I make a motion, read these off to accept the policies as changed?
I do have one question.
Sure.
So on the bus policy EEAA,
Mm-hmm.
so we had a discussion, let me pull this up. There's so many, I gotta scroll down and find it again.
Yeah. The student transportation
Yep,
service. It's about page
Oh, I found it, yeah.
33, 31, 32.
Yeah, so we had a conversation at the last meeting about parents who want their child to get off the bus at a different place, other than the regular one. And I thought we were removing that language because even though it was in the policy, it's not currently allowed.
No, I think we had talked about leaving it, but making sure it was extenuating circumstances and when possible.
Yeah, which is the way it reads.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that
because-
covers
That covers us if a family's in a medical crisis and their student needs to go to alternative daycare for short period of time. That allows us the flexibility to be able to grant that wish.
Yeah. That's what
Okay,
I
so,
remember.
but not, it would have to be.
It isn't an often thing, but it is a
Right.
possible thing. We don't want to shut off the possibility.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Right.
That was my only question. The rest, when I read through them, looks like they reflected the changes we'd asked for in the first reading. So
Cool.
that looks,
Okay. Does this look like you remember, Sean?
Yep.
It was a,
Did you have any questions about them, Justin?
I did not, I was just for my own benefit, gonna look at the way that that currently reads. EAA.
right.
Yeah, it's a big change. Currently it reads students requested to take a different bus home or get off at a different stop. May do so with a parent or guardian sign permission slip.
Yeah, so this added language to make it seem a lot more rare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
it's-
impossible.
Well, it's essentially, we've matched the policy to match current practices.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah, other than that, I'm good.
So good.
Could I have a motion to accept? Oh, okay. I move,
That's
I
when you
move,
have to read
okay,
all the letters.
yes, yes. Okay, I move that we accept the changes to policies JHA, BHC, also GBD, AC, EEA, AA, EEAE, EEAG, EFC, EFD, FA, FBF, FCB, and FFA.
Second,
Motion made by Janine to accept those policies for a second reading, seconded from Elaine.
well,
Any further discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Passes. We've already heard from Sean about the Schaefer Lane Building Committee updates. Thank you very much. Last, is there any other new business or old business before the school committee? See one hand up. This Dr. Snow.
I just have one quick announcement,
Please.
CPAC related. We have a great, fantastic virtual CPAC meeting coming up on the 27th. It's virtual, so easy to attend and very accessible. It's on the topic of preparing for the transition from high school to college. It's going to be presented by Jennifer Stack, who's an educational professional, and she focuses on student access, success, engagement, and retention. So notification is going to go out from the school now by Alex. John is going to send it out in his weekly newsletter as well as Jason, because very quickly our middle schoolers then become high schoolers and then become postgraduates. So hopefully we will get a great turnout for that, and it's virtual. So the Google Meet link will be embedded into the notice.
Very nice, thank you.
Is that, it's being hosted by CPAC, but is it set, I mean, that topic in general applies to everyone who's moving on. Is
We
it,
welcome everyone, yes, I think it, because, and the reason why we wanted it to go out in the newsletters and not just out to special ed is because there are students with disabilities who aren't on IEPs that might benefit from some of the information that could help with understanding how to connect with disability services at colleges, how to help advocate for accommodations that they need, and how to advocate for just themselves in general.
great, Tom. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. There's no other old business or new business before the school committee. I'll just announce that our next meeting is February 5th, 2026, 7 p.m. at Littleton Police Station. I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moves.
Motion made by Sean,
Second.
seconded by Janine. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Have adjourned.